Remy, if we're really going to explain this all the way through, you're right. Information is more than data. It's the collection of data and the analysis of it and the use of it, both from the material standpoint or numbers, etc., information. Uh, the data that's presented turns into information. We carry that a little bit further. And I mentioned this in the Renaissance Leadership book I wrote, where you can basically what you're trying to do is take a look at yourself as a leader, and the way you do that is to take a look at how you assimilate information. Okay, so you have data that's being collected out there that turns, and then as a leader, you look at that data and collect it and assimilate it as information into yourself. And then with that assimilation of the information, you then take a look at that information the same way you used information, you collected information from data. From information, you process that into knowledge. So the way you do that is you take the information in, you internalize it, you assess it against all the things that you need to be looking at, and then as a leader, you create knowledge. And then we go one step further, and that is you personalize that knowledge so that you will take that particular information, that particular knowledge, and you will then put it together with who you are and how you operate and your values and all the things that make you a leader, and convert that into that personalized knowledge into behaviors that you use with your employees, with your customers, vendors, whoever you're communicating with. And that's where the interpersonal communication aspect of it comes in. The interpersonal side has to do with the relationships. The communication has to do with those processes you use to have that relationship. And those processes consist of how do you create the message in your mind? What do you use to create messages you deliver to people? How do you deliver those messages? Is it by phone? Is it in person? Is it posted notes? Is it through LinkedIn? How do you communicate those messages? And what are the barriers that can get in the way of communicating all those messages? And then, of course, there's the reception of the message, which culture, values, and everything have to do with both the sender and the receiver. Things like nonverbal communication, like I'm delivering this reply to you in a visual perspective so you can see me. So you have at least some nonverbal information to connect with the verbal signals that I'm sending you, or any kind of written things that would have put in this reply. Now, one thing that social media does, it's a barrier to effective interpersonal communication because it would have truncated this message. Now I can get this total message, the total explanation of this, a little more complex than what you were saying in your initial response to what this was all about, which was taking data into information. And of course, then I'm sort of carrying that beyond that into the leadership functional role and how you internalize that and everything. We wouldn't have been able to do that in the short space that LinkedIn allows you to explain that. Now I can convert that to a video here, and I can post this video, and consequently, you get a chance to see the response from me. So once you take this communication process, you have to kind of be effective at both of these aspects for you to get this information to people in a way that they believe in you and they trust in you. Okay. So that's why I say interpersonal communication is so critical, because it's really the vehicle, the tools whereby you take what you're talking about with data, information, and all, and that turning into knowledge and use of that knowledge to apply it towards whatever you're trying to achieve. All of that you can't even begin to do at all without interpersonal communication skills. The interpersonal, understanding the dynamics of relationships, which has a lot to do with nowadays neuroscience, how you process things and how you relate to people. It has to do with emotional intelligence, sort of a combination of social psychology, emotional intelligence, and neuroscience. And you have to understand what you're doing with that. You have to really grasp what that means. Once you understand that, you then have to grasp the processes whereby you deliver that and be able to understand the best potential way of delivering your message that you can possibly do it to be effective. And then when that person, that employee is receiving that, you get things like you get an employee input. The employee feels a little more valued. Then you're affecting engagement, you're affecting employee satisfaction, and you're affecting performance of that employee also. So there's a lot of dynamics to this that are a little bit more than data and information, because it carries on out through that process. And then in my book, I explain how I'm telling people we need a leadership paradigm. So the paradigm shift I'm talking about going to is something that people refer to all around, bounce all around it, but they haven't quite put the structure all together, in my opinion. But it's about building community. And organizational effectiveness has to do with the organizational communication process, and that is the integration of all of the dynamics of communications within your organization, including the interpersonal communication. And the leaders who help apply what executives are trying to achieve become exceptionally critical to making sure that organizational communication process evolves into a community that allows enough cross-functional sharing of information that everybody's abreast of all of the knowledge they need to make that organization more effective. So there you go. That's my reply back to you. I hope some people gain some information from this.